Pretty good. I spoke to Bill, he said he's not coming. Yeah, Gary's here somewhere. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Well, when we saw Evelyn at Bobby's, not very long ago. Was it? Yeah, but she knew Reba and I both. Yeah. Yeah, she knew both of us by name. Yeah, yeah. She was at the Shaftesbury. At her house, probably, or apartment. Yeah. I said to Reba, my car is on this cemetery tour. You know, I volunteer as a altar, right? I was to be here too. Nobody the last time we were here yet. Oh no, it was. But then we were at the. Yeah, farther north. No, B'nai Avram. B'nai Avram, where my wife's grandparents are buried. And oh, it was, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Whoop. But he had a son that was my age, and we were friends in high school. Arnold was. I think he was a psychiatrist in Edmonton. I remember going there in high school with Arnold and getting a free pair of jeans. Thought that was nice. No, they haven't opened up the first. And I don't see Matthew. Matthew live. It depends. He may have come directly, or he may go to the Hesed Shalemis and come in the limbo. I'm not sure. Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. since COVID, this seems to be the popular way to do Graveside. Yeah. I don't know. There's a hockey puck. Somebody's left. 47.
This lady here lived to 98.
Nisnik.
Yeah.
Earl Nisnik. Yeah. These are friends of ours. Yeah. Yeah. His brother and his sister-in-law had a store in Fort Francis. Nisnik's of Fort Francis. They had a ladies' wear store.
There's another Nisnik, Sadie and Edward.
That's them.
Oh.
Ed and Sadie. They had a store in Fort Francis. Nisnik's of Fort Francis. And they used to commute. Their kids lived here. They lost, actually, their son Joel was a doctor in Ottawa, a cardiologist, and he just died about a year or two ago. And younger than us, younger than me. They were always nice to me, the Nisniks. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, even as a teenager, I used to hang out at their house because their daughter, Judy, Shaarey. Okay, how are you? Their daughter, Judy, was a girlfriend of, well, is still a girlfriend of Reba's. She lives in Florida. Ed and Sadie visiting.
Doing an inventory.
Well, we just mentioned that, like, Earl and Natalie are here, and Ed and Sadie are there. Where's... Oh, he must be. Matthew. I can't make out anybody. Well, he teaches he tells them, he gives them the mourner's card, or she gives them the prayers, puts ribbons on them. Do they? I can't see. He doesn't stop. Sometimes it's 3 times, sometimes it's 7 times. They're not stopping. Yeah.
Adonai Ose Shamayim Va'aretz Ha'iten lamod raglecha Al yanum shomrecha Hine lo yanum velo yishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai Shomrecha Adonai Tzilcha Yad Yeminecha Adonai Shomrecha Adonai Tzilcha Yad Yeminecha Yom HaShemesh lo yakeka ve'yareach balayla Adonai yishmorcha mikora Yishmor enafshecha Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvoecha Me'ata ve'ad olam Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvoecha Me'ata ve'ad olam Al mekoma tavo ve'shalom. Shir Lama'alot, a song for those who ascend. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your guardian will not slumber. You see, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your protection, your guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. God will guard your going and coming now and forever. May Evelyn Wener go unto God in peace. Hatzur tamim paulo kichol racha mishpat el emunah ve'inav el tzadik v'yashar hu tzadik atadonai lahamidu lahachayot asher b'yadcha bigadon kol ruchot chalila lecha zichronenu limchot v'yihiyu nainech ve'rachamim aleinu fekuchot ki lecha adon harachamim ve'haslichot Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach v'hi shem Adonai mevorach V'hu rachum yechaper avon v'lo yashchit v'hirba l'ashiva bo v'lo yirko chamato V'yashov ha'afar al haaretz she'haya V'haruach tashuv el ha'elohim asher netana. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May Evelyn's soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal, and may God send comfort to those who mourn and grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you to everyone who has tuned in from all over the world for the broadcast of our service as we gather today to honor Evelyn Wener, Esther bat Aharon Halevi Verezel, the daughter of Rose and Aaron Bricker, Zichronam Livracha, of blessed memory. We are here to celebrate her life, to pay her the ultimate respect of Jewish tradition by accompanying her here to her final resting place, and to say goodbye. Evelyn passed away Thursday, the 25th day in the Hebrew month of Kislev, which is also the first night of Hanukkah. She was 95. Like Avraham, and by extension his wife Sarah, the first Jewish couple, Evelyn benefited from both the dignity of old age, the wisdom of experience, and a long life. And like Sarah especially, but also Avraham, within the multi-generational family tree that she created with her husband Albert, she serves as a matriarch. An Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, survived by her family. By her children, Jim and Mickey, Lynn, Ralph and Chana, Pam and Gary. Her grandchildren, Adi, Nofar, Ira and Leah, Sarah and Adam, Taryn and Tim, Eleni, Hart and Jocelyn, Corey, Daniel. Her great-grandchildren, Yali, Shira, and Yonatan, Tilly and Bodie, Lucas and Cooper, Carter and Zoe, Ray, and by her sister Jacqueline. Evelyn was predeceased by her parents, Rose and Aaron, by her sister Peggy, her husband Albert, by her son Bobby, and by her grandson Benji, all of blessed memory. Zichronam Livracha. The eulogies for today's service will be read by family members. Evelyn's daughter Pam, son Ralph, daughters-in-law Mickey and Lynn, and grandson Daniel, on behalf of all her grandkids. As an introduction, we offer this teaching, appropriate for this time of year, Hanukkah, a time of light, and especially in our day, a time of candles. In the biblical book of Mishlei, Proverbs, we read, "The human spirit is the light of God. Each of us has within us a divine spark, and with it the obligation to tend this spark and fan it into a flame that will light up one's own life and the lives of others. A lit candle can be snuffed out, or it can burn out, or it can kindle other candles. When the flame is passed on to others, the flame will continue to burn long after the original candle has gone out." I'd like to call up Pam to begin the hesped, the eulogy portion of our service.
My mom was affectionately known by my dad as Susie. Always brought her family together, whether it was at the cottage or Friday night dinners. Being together for holidays and birthdays was very important. My mom was a miracle worker, raising 3 boys and 1 girl. Although we provided my mom with an above the average number of incidents that called for discipline, she seemed to have an amazing intuition of when to interfere and when to leave it be. Thinking about that now, she was probably just too exhausted. Well, both my parents encouraged us to be who we wanted to be. There were expectations about how you were to treat others and, of course, table etiquette. These are what I called my mom's shoulds. Like my dad should get the first piece of pie on Friday nights because that was the one that was likely to fall apart on the plate. Or the one should never stack dishes because that's how the bottoms get dirty, even though you were rinsing them before you put them in the dishwasher. My mom made it clear to me at a young age that when table setting, the forks go on the left and the spoons and the knife go on the right, and there was no other acceptable layout. And we all knew there were no elbows allowed on the table. Another should was being thoughtful of others and usually putting yourself last. A should that was never broken in our family was that members of each generation were to be treated equally. My mom loved us all, but you saw pure joy and love. I'll stop. When she spoke to or was with any of her 9 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren. I took joy watching Corey and Daniel develop their own relationship with my mom. You could feel the love, admiration, and respect they all had for each other. My mom nailed it as a mother-in-law. She got along well with all of her daughter-in-laws and her favorite son-in-law. Throughout my life, my friends liked to hang out with my mom. She made them feel welcomed. She was great to talk to, and she told it the way she saw it. When I was growing up, my mom told me that she was not my friend, that she was my mother, and that was different. But over the years, we became best of friends. She was my role model for what it was to be a woman and a mom. When I started university, I remember being in awe that at 16, my mom went away to university in Minnesota, where she gained her BSc in medical technology. She told us about how she returned to Winnipeg and worked at Deer Lodge Center, becoming the highest paid phlebotomist, and that she lost her job because she was a woman. She taught me to ignore the small things and put your energy into family and friends. She always told me how important girlfriends are, and she made very special friendships at every phase of her life. She often told me that it doesn't matter how others behave to you, but at the end of the day, you had to live with your own actions. As life moved on, my mom and I spent more and more time together. We did things together. We talked about everything. She was my mentor for cooking, bridge, parenting, and spot removal. Homemade hot mustard, Greek salad dressings, and commish have become staples in my home. In recent years, my mom gave me the privilege of being able to give back to her, and I felt honored and lucky to be able to be with my best girlfriend for 65 years. I love you and I'll miss you.
Mom, 95 years is quite an era. We were very lucky and very thankful for the 7 decades we had with you. Raising 4 kids was challenging, full of episodes and experience for all of us, even sometimes reaching your boiling point. We were just innocent kids, but the last words always with Mom were, "Just you wait until your father gets home." Wednesdays were a win-win day. Mom bowled until late afternoon, and we got lucky. We got hot dogs, chips, and a soft drink for dinner. Humble fits you best as your major characteristic. Always understanding, never butting in. You said so much with so few words. A strong, clever, practical, and rational woman, You knew exactly what to say, but much more importantly, you knew what not to say. Even thousands of miles separated us, you knew how to make us feel so close to you. On Friday night phone calls, you could set the clock by. You even gave me shit a couple of times when I was 10 minutes late. I'll never forget one sleepless night when I was debating leaving school to go back to Israel. I was looking for advice from you, and with your chokhmah you answered me, take something to Israel, your degree, not something from Israel. You got lots of joy, happiness, and nachat from your children, and even more so from your 10 great-grandchildren. Yes, the wheel of life turns. Our memories are many and vivid, especially of our family time at Tanis Lake and the Wener Alaska cruise, where you were the main event. There are so many of your attributes that we carry with us, our children and grandchildren too. Rest in peace, Savta. Nuchi b'shalom, Savta.
I am so very privileged to call Evelyn Wener my mother-in-law. Long before she knew I was going to be her daughter-in-law, she welcomed me into her home. When Jim and I were engaged, I'm sure others were asking, is she Jewish? But I knew that Evie and Albert, as we called Albert, took me and my Christianity into their hearts and loved me for exactly who I was. This was in spite of the fact that I had been known to double dip until properly Wener trained. Evie's training was not limited to removing stains, as is popular, Pam's already mentioned, with hot water from a height, how to get Hanukkah candles out of a menorah, the satisfaction of working a good crossword puzzle, or how to make a good Caesar. Evie taught me mother-in-law skills. She often said she needed to wear beige, which just meant she was careful about passing judgment. She did abide by this rule, but one always knew where she stood on important issues, as she was direct and of strong moral fiber, and also where she stood on less important issues, also previously mentioned, not stacking the dishes at the dinner table. And speaking of dinners, how we look forward to those Friday night dinners. Evie was smart, thoughtful, fiercely independent, and led a vibrant life focused on family and friends. As a grandmother of almost 40 years to Sarah, she meant the world to her and her family. She did not go happily into these last years of declining strength and health and heartbreaking loss, but she persevered. I will miss Evie's smile, a good Scrabble game, getting another one of her recipes, and her sage advice. Love you, Ev.
Evie was a role model for me as a mother-in-law and grandma. She told me, don't let the punishment be harder on you than the child. Hence, Bobby always went to hockey. Taryn once got ready for school in a rather eclectic outfit, and Evie was volunteering that day at Montrose for her once-a-week shift. And Evie said, don't worry about it, it's not worth the fight. She certainly gave Eleni her cooking and baking skills and tried with me by saying it's a no-brainer. Bobby and I had always intended on naming Hard Heart until at the last minute another name popped into our minds. My dad said that is terrible, and Evie said, I totally agree with your father, awful. So Heart is Heart. Her knitting, her gems on hats and gloves were always a labor of love given unconditionally. My experience of Evie was, it was never about her. When we moved to Ottawa, as hard as it was on her and Albert, I started to cry at the airport, and she said, you will be fine, and it is good. After Bobby passed away, each time I visited her, she held my hand and said, it will take a long time. Every phone call, she only asked about me and how I was doing. As memories evolve, I will continue to learn from them. May her memory be a blessing.
Even on a sad day, it's hard not to think of my Grandma Evie without smiling. She was a special kind of matriarch to the Wener family. When I asked my cousins, Evie's grandchildren, for ideas of what to say today, they all had their own personal memories with her. Some talked about memories of trips together. Others talked about the effort she would put in to make us our favorite things: hamburger cookies, hot mustard, jackets covered in gems. They talked about how she would fly to Israel with relish, coffee crisps and baking stuffed into every orifice of her bags every year to see her family for Passover. How she would share her love of the arts with us by taking us to the symphony or the Rainbow Stage. What was clear in everyone's memories was that family was very important to our grandma. Using Evie's metric, I'd say family was at least twice as important as 4 o'clock Jeopardy and 5 o'clock Absolute Vodka. She was there for us at our graduations, at our bar and bat mitzvahs, and our weddings. She was there when we needed to be picked up from school or rescued from camp with our own injuries and ailments. Whether it was across country or across oceans, she was there. The evidence of her devotion to family is clear when I look at how close our family is today. Not everyone gets to know their grandparents, and even fewer get to live alongside their grandma for long enough to really appreciate the impact that they've had on the generations that followed them. And so while today is a day of grief and tears and mourning, we can't help but be incredibly grateful for the time that we had with my Grandma Evie, and we look forward to carrying on her tradition of family for years to come. We love you and we miss you already.
Thank you to everyone who spoke. Those eulogies were heartfelt, beautiful, and completely fitting for a service honoring a very special lady. We'll now chant the El Malei Rachamim, the traditional Jewish memorial prayer in honor of Evelyn Wener. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bameromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Uteorim, Kezohar Arakia Mazirim, Enishmat Esther Bar Aharon Alevi Verezo Shelcha Leolama Began Eidente Menuchata Anabal Harachamim Hasti Rea Beseter Kenafecha Leolamim Utzror Bitzror Achaim Enishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach B'shalom Al Mishkava V'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, Grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Evelyn Wener, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that she find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And together let us say, Amen. In a moment we will recite the Mourner's Kaddish and then conclude our service with the ritual of shoveling earth into the grave. The family will lead us, and more on that in a moment. Before that, I just wanted to announce that following this service, there will be a meal of consolation held at the Shaftesbury Park Residences on Shaftesbury, in the library on the second floor. The family will be sitting Shiva and receiving visitors this evening from 7 to 8:30, and tomorrow afternoon from 1:30 to 3 at 139 Tuxedo in the common room on the first floor. For Shiva visits and for the meal, guests and visitors are strongly encouraged, please, to wear masks. When it comes to shoveling earth into the grave, there are different customs in different Jewish cemeteries around the world. Most people pour 3 shovelfuls of earth, but some people use the front of the shovel while some people use the back of the shovel. Some people will pass the shovel to the next person in line, while others will return it to the earth, as if reluctant to pass on what could be perceived as a burden. The custom that you're familiar with, or the custom whose explanation resonates with you, is the custom we argue you should embrace to infuse all ritual with meaning. One thing we do know is that shoveling is a mitzvah, a righteous act, a selfless act we do without any hope of reward, to express our love, to take care of a loved one until the very end. Because in Jewish tradition we believe that our loved ones deserve to be buried by our own hands. Kind hands, knowing hands, hands that once held their hands. It can be painful, it can be emotional, but we remind ourselves that it's an act ultimately born of love and compassion for someone who meant so much to so many people. After the family leads us, everyone who is here is invited and encouraged to participate in this mitzvah. Sometimes there's a small bucket set up with a pail. So you might not be able to see it, so it's on the other side of the large pile of earth. The idea is that people can line up from both sides, and again, be careful, it's slippery, it's slick. But if you're unsure of the large shovel and you still want to participate, the bucket has sand in it, which you can use to fulfill the mitzvah all the same. Earlier in the service, we offered the words of Job, the epitome of suffering in Jewish tradition. We offer them again here in conclusion. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevarach. God, you have given. God, you have taken away. Blessed be the name of God. May the memory of Evelyn Wener be a blessing, as we mark that her essence will never leave our hearts and our souls. The Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabah mevorach le'alam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabah min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Excuse me. To the family we offer these words. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May you be comforted and consoled. May God comfort and console you among all those who are or who have ever been in mourning in our community. On behalf of the family, we thank you for coming, for paying your respects, for honoring Evelyn, and for joining your hearts together with her families to help them with strength and courage during this time of grief and mourning. Thank you, everyone. We invite the family to come forward.